Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Past Meets Profit. Let's get right into it. Today we're going to be talking about Belgium, specifically during the Victorian era. So, Belgium is a very interesting nation. They gained independence in 1830, pretty much after the Napoleonic Wars, and they really were just created to serve as a buffer state between the rising German states and such as Prussia and France, and to represent the really the Belgian culture in that territory, the Dutch. But in their form, they were a small state. But however, during the Victorian era, they were able to become one of the most industrially advanced and economically dynamic countries in Europe. Now let's talk about why. First reason was the rapid industrialization. Belgium was the first country in continental Europe to truly industrialize. Uh, they had a lot of coal and took advantage of this and built many coal and steel industries. Now, what this let them do is they were able to build on that, create a dense railroad network through connect the entire nation, and then there's a huge government support for again these um, mining, coal industries, metallurgy, metal, such as iron industries and textile industries that have were rooted in tradition there. Um, Now they eat they the Belgians were able to even further this by adapting British industrial techniques, and they're able to acquire this due to their since the geographic proximity. More of that active knowledge transferred through trade and just because Belgium was not seen at the time as a threat to the British, so they were very willing to share these techniques to them. Now, the second reason was their liberal economic model. What I mean by liberal economic model, A, liberal for the time, and B, from an economic standpoint. Now, what was a liberal economic model at the time? It had low tariffs, encouragement of private businesses, free trade, and a strong banking sector. Basically, a lot of privatization and really a kind of laissez-faire sort of economic model. What this did was it was attracted a lot of foreign capital and enabled the Belgian industries to scale quickly because they had the freedom to do so. Uh, and to really go into that, we this free free laissez-faire free economic model combined with the growing industrialization led to massive urban growth in Brussels, Antwerp, Ghent, and Liège. There were huge expansions of ports, especially in Antwerp, which became pretty much an international commercial hub. There was an insanely large amount of trade going through Antwerp. Uh, and then again, to really just connect the entire nation, they were modernizing their canals, building roads, and again, that rail system. Uh, what this did, this high level of infrastructure, allowed Belgium to capitalize on their geographic position and became an essential transit corridor between Britain, France, and Germany, which really, again, increases geopolitical importance. Now, the last reason that Belgium was able to grow into such a strong economic state, even despite being a very new nation, was their political stability. Belgium had a liberal constitution for the time. Um, Again, we're speaking for the time, so compared to other nations during the Victorian era. Uh, they had a parliamentary government, large, strong protection of civil liberties, and a strong but limited monarchy, a constitutional monarchy. Again, liberal for the time. But the stability that came out of this political system allowed for sustained economic growth and foreign investment, as again, the nation itself is very stable and not susceptible to political infighting, corruption, or anything that could weaken the stability of the nation, which would discourage foreign investment and discourage even for business to be created the uh, in the country. Now, how did Belgium capitalize on this? They're able to do so by making their economic strength and their importance as a trade hub to and then leverage that into growing their imperial ambition. What do they do? In a similar way as they acted as kind of a buffer between the three major powers of Germany, France, and Great Britain. They also act as a mediator for the region of the Congo. However, at first it was given to King Leopold II himself, who was a horrible human being and did horrible things. However, after this, it was given to the state of Belgium, which treat relatively, of course, treated the Congolese much better. Now, I really want to go again and focus on the rapid industrialization. Again, because they were really the first to fully embrace an industrial economy. Why were they able to do this? One, because they were smaller, as compared to a great empire like Russia or Great Britain, where trying to really uh, implement and change their whole economic system would be insanely hard due to the massive amount of land you'd have to do it in. However, Belgium being a smaller state, they were able to um, get the entire country to uh, fully industrialize a lot faster. Secondly, they used what they had. They had a large amount of coal and a large amount of iron, both key for sorry, uh, both key raw materials to be able to industrialize. Why? Coal coal produces the power, and steel, and iron eventually steel creates the infrastructure. Now, again, this is just how they built up their industrial capacity, but they were also one of the most, probably the most important. Their country as a whole was the most important trading crossroads in Europe. Again, due to their geographic location and what they did with it. More importantly, they had their economic model allowed for a lot of investment, and the government themselves put a lot of focus into building up their infrastructures. Their ports in Antwerp, which the, the, to understand how important the that port in Antwerp was, you skip over a century into the 1940s, the World War II. After D-Day, Antwerp was the largest supplying largest uh, naval base for the Allied powers. It was pretty much everything went through Antwerp. New supplies, troops, armor, everything that the Allied powers needed to win on the Western Front went through Antwerp. A century later, that this goes to show how much effort that the Belgians put into building this and how influential it was. And on top of this, they connected their entire nation. If people can go anywhere, the goods can go anywhere also. So someone can uh, France can trade something to Belgium or to Germany, and Belgium can very easily act as a middleman. Same case for any other nations in the area, the Dutch, the British, and took advantage of this. So, what can we learn from the Belgians? One, It's not how big or small you are, it's what you do with what you got. The Belgians were nowhere near the strongest nation, they were nowhere near the largest nation, but they took advantage of the resources they had and used it to become one of the strongest economies in Europe. And for a time, the strongest economy in Europe. Uh, to understand your situation and capitalize on that. Now, it's not just about how big or small you are, it's where you are relative to others, or where you are relative to yourself. Belgium, again, was not a strong nation, and they knew there was really no opportunity for them to expand. So they embraced what they were. They embraced themselves as an intermediate between France, Germany, the Dutch, and the UK, and they took advantage of that because not only did they act as a geographic buffer state, they also acted as a buffer for trade, a place where German could get a French good that then may have not been able to get, a place where a French can get a German good that they would not have been able to, and they capitalized on this. So, and lastly, as we've seen so many times before, they leveraged their economic power to go out and seize something and grow, and when they had the opportunity to. And they did that by staying true to who they were. Now, what can you learn from this? First off, it doesn't matter if you're the richest guy or the poorest guy. It's what you do with what you got. It's understanding what you have. It's understanding what tools were given to you. It's and using them. Secondly, is understanding your situation. If you're if you're a small business owner, understand that your position as a small business owner. Don't try acting as a large one. On the contrary, if you're a large business owner, don't act like a small one. Understand what you are and use that to your advantage. And lastly, as I've said so many times before, when you have the opportunity, seize it. And you don't seize it by being someone else, you seize it by being who you are and staying true to that. All right. So that being said, guys, it's another great episode, and I'll see you soon.